Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be looking at a very fun little budget list that I've built over the past few days. It's a lot of fun. So usually budget for me contains no more than 6 rares and 4 mythics, and I choose that number because I usually need a few rares and mythics in order to make a list functional on the ladder, so, you know, I need some breathing room as far as budget is concerned. Today's deck, however, only contains 4 rares in the entire list, so let's go over and take a look at it, shall we? This is a mono blue Murmuring Mystic bird deck. So the idea is that we play a card called Murmuring Mystic, which is 3 and a blue for a 1/5, which makes it quite hard to deal with. Something to keep in mind. It says, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 blue bird illusion creature token with flying. So every instance and sorcery we cast, we get a flying bird. So the idea is to exploit that as much as humanly possible. So the way that we're going to do that, the best way that we can do that, is by copying Murmuring Mystic. So I've got 4 copies of Quasi-Duplicate in this deck. So this is 1 and 2 blue for a sorcery speed card that says create a token that is a copy of the target creature you control. So in order to exploit Murmuring Mystic, we can actually create copies of Mystic and in turn trigger him as well, creating bird tokens. So we want to be casting Murmuring Mystic around turn 5, turn 6, and the reason we want to do that is because most of the time we haven't really given our opponent much of an opportunity to make use of their removal spells. So we want to be able to protect Murmuring Mystic when it comes down. So we've got things like Dive Down. This is the turn 5 play. If you've got one of these in hand, you can play a Mystic on turn 5 if you don't think it's going to get counterspelled. So this actually gives your creature +0/+3 and hexproof, which makes it a great blocker, and it makes it untargetable as well. So if your opponent is Burn and they go Lightning Strike on your Murmuring Mystic, in response you could use Dive Down, and then they need to provide 5 more damage worth of burn spells in response in order to kill Mystic, which on turn 5 is a little hard to do because they've usually thrown a lot of burn at your face. So that's one way that we can do this. Dive Down can also protect Mystic against Ixalan's Bindings, Ravenous Chupacabras, cast downs, murders, all that kind of stuff as well, so something to keep in mind. For the stuff that we don't use Dive Down for, we do have 4 copies of Wizard's Retort. So this is 1 and 2 blue that says this spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a wizard. Coincidentally, Murmuring Mystic is a human wizard, which means Wizard's Retort is actually a 2-mana counterspell if you have your Mystic down in play, which is why a turn 6 play is okay for Mystic as well. So you either want to be on turn 5 if you've got a Dive Down, or on turn 6 if you have a Negate or a Wizard's Retort in hand, that kind of thing. Even Blink of an Eye also works quite well in order to protect your Murmuring Mystic as well. Just bouncing the Mystic back to your hand so that you can replay him safely is also a valid option. And we also have 2 copies of Unexplained Disappearance just to add to that extra little bit of bounce. So Unexplained Disappearance, most of you probably won't have seen this card before. 1 and a blue, instant speed, return target creature to its owner's hand. It speaks for itself really, but it does have Surveil as well, which allows us to set up the top of our deck, either put it in our graveyard if we don't need it, or put it in the graveyard if it's a jump start card as well, because that's almost like drawing a card in that same sense. Quasi-Duplicate as well is copies 8 and 12 of Murmuring Mystic, so it should be noted that it's very important that you keep Mystic alive, otherwise you're going to have a bad time. So, in order to get to Mystic, being the 4 copies in our deck, we do need to find it. So we have plenty of ways to actually dig through our deck. 4 copies of Opt is the first one. Turn 1 Opt allows you to scry, put a card to the top or bottom, and then draw a card as well. So we want to be hunting for either land drops or Mystics. That's the idea. If we've got 1 Mystic, that's usually good enough, just hunt for lands. We also have 3 copies of Radical Idea as well. Same kind of deal, except for this one, instead of having Scry, has Jumpstart, which means we get to cast it from our graveyard by discarding a card, which could be an excess land in the late game, could be something that we don't need, maybe Essence Scatters in a control matchup, we're not going to need those, so discard those, that kind of idea. Other than that, we've got also Charter Course as well. Works really well with the Murmuring Mystic birds because they are often going to be attacking in without any kind of blocks available to our opponent. So 2 blue, 1 blue and a colourless, sorry. For a sorcery speed, draw 2 cards, then discard a card unless you attacked with a creature this turn. The downside's not too difficult to pull off. In the early game, a nice 2 mana draw spell is also really nice to make sure that we dig to our Mystic in time. We also have 4 copies of Zalfarin Void as well. Similar to Opt, except for without the draw, and it is a land, of course. Adds a colourless mana, which isn't too much difficulty for us to do. We only really have Quasi-Duplicate and Wizard's Retorts for the double blue. Blink of an Eye with the kicker is the exception to that, of course, but for the most part, our mana's not really too tied down, so we are able to use Zalfarin Voids in order to dig. It's very important that we have plenty of ways of finding our Mystics, because as you can imagine, if 4 of them are at the bottom of your deck, you're probably going to lose. And that is something that I do want to mention with this deck as well. It's not exactly tier 1 or tier 2. This is a fun deck for you guys to play. Nice and cheap in order to build as well. I've been playing about 50% win rate with it, I would say. So there are a few games that are a bit of a non-game. You know, if you don't find your Mystic or your opponent aggroes you out, it's just going to happen on occasion. But when Mystic goes off, I think all of those losses combined are worth the wins that you manage to get. So 19 islands, 4 Zalfarin Voids, and that's essentially the deck. I'm only going to be doing this as a best of 1 thing, because that's usually what I do with the budget decks, because most people playing on a budget want to be having grinding decks, I've found. So, you know, best of 3 is not always the best opportunity for grinding in that sense. So, yeah. I'm not really sure what upgrades there are in this deck, honestly, because when I was building it, this is how it just naturally formed, to be perfectly honest. There is another copy spell that you could use, which is called... I'm almost there, I know it, because I looked up for it earlier. Oh god, I've passed it. Where are you? Where are you? You're making me look silly. You could also put Search for Canters in here as well, I suppose. They would be okay. But they are a bit slow. We're kind of tempoing our opponents, so the bounces are to protect it with early game aggression. I forgot to mention that. These aren't just to protect your Mystics, they are also to bounce creatures and slow your opponent down, so that you can get infinite 1/1s as well. So Metamorphic Alteration is the alternative to Quasi-Duplicate if you don't have it. The Alteration is an aura though, so the reason I picked Duplicate over Alteration is because it's a sorcery spell, which actually means it triggers the Mystic. So when you copy Mystic, you'll get a bird token, and then when you copy it with Jumpstart, you'll get 2 bird tokens and 3 Mystics. That's kind of the idea. Metamorphic Alteration also requires you to have another creature on board, which would be the bird token, but that also requires you to use a spell in order to generate a bird first, in order to create that copy, so that you can copy Mystic. So it's a little too situational, a little bit too iffy, but if you are struggling with Quasi-Duplicate cards, if you don't have the wild cards for even this rare, then if you have alterations around, then that is a reasonable switch for this card here. But other than that, I don't think there's many changes to make. You could maybe make an argument for Mission Briefing, but I'm not entirely sure that's even worth it either. We're kind of usually quite pinched on mana most of the time. Running 23 lands, pretty much spending all of our mana every single turn trying to find the Mystic or to protect our Mystic. So without further ado, I'm going to get into some games, hopefully showcase this deck in its full glory, maybe in some of its less glory as well, we'll see. Try to get a nice little varied list of games for you guys anyway. So without further ado, let's get into the games, and I'll see you there. Okay, 3 lands, Mystic, Counterspells, and Bounce. The only problem is, we're on the draw. That's the only downside to this hand. And it's a red deck, okay. But no turn 1 play, which is very good for us. Alright, we might as well go with Zalfarin Void. I do need to find that 4th land. Our hand is reasonably fine as it is anyway, so... Negate could be okay against Lightning Strikes and Risk Factors. Yeah, I guess I'll take it. I'm sure we'll find a land at some point. So just hope to fade a turn 2 play. It's very unlikely, but wow, okay, our opponent looks to have missed their land drop. Well, hopefully we have a game on our hands. Hopefully our opponent draws a land soon. There we go. Alright. But that is a very big deal for us. That's probably, as little as it seems, that is probably going to win us the game. It's just one of those things. Okay. Lightning Strike. Yep, that's fine. As I mentioned in the deck tech, a lot of our opponents want to spend removal pointing at our face, which makes a 1/5 very hard to deal with for a burn deck like this. So I'm just going to play down my Mystic, because I know for 3 mana they're going to have a very difficult time taking this down. And Shock to the Face is a pretty interesting choice. Now, the funny thing about Murmuring Mystic is often when you have one in play, it's better to actually just quasi-duplicate it rather than playing the extra Mystic in hand, because it triggers your birds. Very weird, I know, but now we actually get to hold up and dive down to protect our Mystic. Can't protect our face, but with our opponent being on 3 mana, I'm sure there's not much they can do to threaten us here. Okay, and let's quasi-duplicate again. We have dive down protection, so there's no way they can fizzle this. Now we make 3 birds a turn. And this is just kind of what we want to be doing. Our opponent... Oh, wow, they were on white all this time. That's pretty grim for our opponent. Okay, well, let's quasi-duplicate another Mystic, shall we? Might as well, right? Let's just dump Murmuring Mystic, to be honest. Let's make some more burbs. Now our dive down creates 4 bird tokens a turn. And we're not dead to Deafening Clarion. He can obviously save himself for a little while by getting rid of our birds, but with 5 toughness we should be okay. Tajik, yep, that's fine. We got 6 power in the air, 4 on board. I could make it a little bit more if I choose to do so. I might actually just dive down my Mystic. Shocks our face. Yeah, let's just dive down our Mystic. Create 4 more birds. Swing for lethal. Pretty good. Pretty good. Let's see if we can get a non-mana screwed initially opponent. They kind of got out of it, but I mean, they were spending their burn spells in the wrong place, and that's just kind of how it goes. But yeah, let's have another game. Alright, we have Mystic, 3 lands, some ops, and a quasi-duplicate, which is pseudo-Mystic. Let's take it. So, do I play Void first for the Scry, or do I opt first for the Scry and draw? I think I go for the opt. I won't mind looking at the top card of my deck and actually just drawing it so that we have an unknown on top, that's fine. I'm not so bothered about keeping these until after Mystic comes down. Stitcher's Supplier, okay, so green-black most likely. Ooh, Plate Crafters are going to be interesting. Let's bottom the... What could he do on 2? Nothing too crazy, I don't think. I could use it as a blowout tactic for his Plague Crafter, though. Bounce it in response to the trigger and cause him to kill one of his creatures. But then he gets to replay it. I'm just going to bottom it. I need that 4th land anyway. Essence Scatter's pretty good. And another Mystic. Alright, so that pretty much protects me from a decent amount of removal. Let's play Void, since we don't know the top card. Wizard's Retort, I need the 4th land. So I'm just going to bottom that. Essence Scatter should cover it just fine anyway. This is a creature deck after all. Okay. The question becomes whether or not we Mystic on 4, or if we wait until we've got protection. We do have the spare Mystic and we have the quasi-duplicate, so it seems as though, well, we definitely don't need another one. It seems as though Mystic on 4 is just going to be just fine, as long as we actually get there for mana. Okay, we're good. Right. That's really good. Very good indeed. So, we've only seen black from our opponent. I've got to assume that he's green-black. He certainly wouldn't run Evolving Wilds in a mono-coloured deck. Yeah. Three mana. What can you do? Midnight Reaper. When a creature you control dies, deals 1 damage to you and you draw a card. Yeah, sure. Have that. It's fine by me. I want to be choosing my counters very wisely, because the thing is, what I'm thinking now, if I play this Mystic, he could either Ravenous Chupacabra or Plaguecrafter me. If I waited until I had 2 extra mana, I could Essence Scatter and pretty much stop that plan. I have Blink of an Eye, which I can kick and draw a card, plus Radical Idea as well, so I can slow my opponent down plenty. Yeah, I'm just not sure I'm in a rush right now. And I'd be in an interesting situation anyway with 4 mana with a Mystic. The hand as it currently stands isn't all too amazing for a freshly summoned Mystic. If he passes, I'm probably just gonna... Wow, okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna Blink of an Eye with Kicker this Reaper. Take some damage off the board. Well, a 3rd Mystic, I think, is the go-ahead to just slam one down. See if he has the removal. I mean, if it's Assassin's Trophy, that's pretty good. Because that potentially puts us in place for Mystic plus Essence Scatter, if we draw the land. Midnight Reaper, okay. Very good, very good. And, yeah. Naturally, swinging in with a Supplier. I'm just going to take this one. It's not like you can really deal 10 damage anytime soon. Out of nowhere. We're going to get cast down. We are not, and we have a Wizard's Retort on the top. Ooh. Okay. So... I think we go Radical Idea. Get a bird token. I'm looking for a land, essentially. Yes! Alright. Hitting a land's very nice. I'm not going to quasi-duplicate, though. It just puts me in a weird situation. I'd rather hold open this Wizard's Retort, because he's hovered my Mystic several times in my turn. Which can only mean he's either reading the card because he's never seen the card, understandably so, or he has removal and he's waiting for his opportunity. So right now, anything that my opponent does gets me a bird token. Okay. Swings with the lot. Okay, so what we're going to do is block here and just chomp here, I think. I'll take this one down to 9, I'm fine with that. Opponent does get to draw a card from Midnight Reaper, which is not ideal, but... Yeah, okay. No death touch for you. Bird token for us. Alright. So hopefully he doesn't draw anything fantastic here. And then we can start quasi-duplicating our Mystics and just going a little crazy. It's about time to start blocking everything, though. Elvish Rejuvenator, yeah, not much of a problem. We do have to be aware now, though, now that he's revealed his little plan of status and statue, that we can no longer really realistically block with our Mystics. That is lovely. Yeah, let's quasi-duplicate, I guess. Copy the Mystic. We have Wizard's Retort backup and Essence Scatter as well for anything that he might have to stop us here in the long run. Let's not attack yet. I don't think there's much need. If he does nothing and I feel safe, I can Radical Idea, discard a Mystic. I think we got plenty. Gets me another 2 bird tokens as well, which blocks his 1/1s quite wonderfully. I need to make sure this Midnight Reaper dies at some point though. Probably this turn. So pre-combat do something to kill my Mystic is probably ideal, so that I get the bird tokens to block the Reaper. Okay. Does no such thing. Just swings in with the Reaper though. And the Supplier. Must be getting with everything surely. Huh. That's very odd. I mean, if I went for the radical idea here, what could really go wrong realistically that I can't recover from? I don't think there's much. Let's discard a Mystic. Let's get some more birds. This plays around him having status. And then we'll just block the Reaper entirely. Make sure that dies. Stop his card draw and make blocking these really nice. Alright. Now he doesn't draw cards for us blocking his creatures, which is nice. We get to untap and make another Mystic. Hatchery Spider. What does this thing do? I heard it's good. Guess a Stitcher Supplier, is that what it does? Whenever you cast a spell, reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of creatures in your graveyard. You may put a green permanent, with X or less onto the battlefield. That's kind of cool. Kind of cool. It's very expensive, but cool. Alright, so he knows about this quasi-duplicate, so maybe I should just use that one. Create a copy of Mystic, discard the land. Yeah. Hatchery Spider, like most spiders, has the wonderful reach. I think we just quasi-duplicate again. What could he possibly play other than a board wipe, which I suppose maybe I could hold up and retort for that. He looks like the kind of deck that doesn't really mind a Ritual of Soot, because he can recover. Yeah, we can play this safe. That's fine. I can block a 5/7 for the rest of my life, it's fine. Everything else, same again, you can just block away. What does a statue do? Artifact, creature, enchantment. Okay. Alright. I'll block all of this. I don't really mind him filling up his graveyard. He gets his skeleton back, but we get our birds back, so we're just going to make a hell of a lot of birds. Moodmark Painter. Plus X plus O and Menace, and he gets a Molder Hulk, which is going to get... Is this going to get Essence Scattered? Yeah, sure, why not? The more he plays into this turn, the less I just feel like he has a board wipe. Because he would have wiped then, I think, if he had one. He wouldn't play a creature into this and then wipe. Okay, reassembling skeleton. Okay, he might have a kill spell for one of our mystics, which is fine. We have several in hand, effectively. Journey to Eternity. Alright, well, I have just drawn Blink of an Eye. That's pretty good, right? So let's fizzle that Journey to Eternity, I guess. With a kicker. So bounce Rejuvenator. Get 3 bird tokens. Which blocks him for the turn. We get a bounce spell as well. Not too bad. Now, you know what? I have no intentions of blocking with these mystics. So let's just get that extra damage in. Take him to 15. That reaching hatchery spider's not looking too amazing right now. So presumably he's going to play his Rejuvenator back down again. I'm going to let it happen. Reassembling Skeleton is also perfectly fine. Alright. Keep blocking. My board's getting progressively bigger, his is staying exactly the same, so not much of an issue. Haha, I don't think so. Let's get 3 bird tokens. Izoni's nice and all, but not someone that I have any intentions of allowing to stick around. And now we have 10 damage on board, which is pretty good. Let's play the Void. Boredom the extra land. And I guess we'll start swinging. Okay, down to 5. We have Lethal in the air. Don't know if there's any reason for us to do anything else. Maybe I could just quasi-duplicate 1 Mystic just to get the bird tokens, so that I'm not relying on Unexplained Disappearance to generate blockers, just in case. This is just to hedge a possible loss. It's possible that he's running Lotlith Giant, or whatever he's called, the one that damages equal to creatures in your graveyard. That would actually do it. That would kill us. That's a hell of a lot of top end that I'm seeing from my opponent, though. It's a good game, our opponent. Yeah, he doesn't have it. And that'll do it. Alright, I think that was a pretty good game. Pretty good indeed. I think we're going to end it off here, though. I think we've run on quite long enough. I think those 2 are pretty good games anyway. So I really hope you guys enjoy this deck, and hope you guys end up building it as well. It is a ton of fun to actually play. It takes a little bit of getting used to. As I mentioned, the instinct to drop this down on 4 is very strong. You want to be resisting that most of the time. So getting to know your opponent's deck is a strong part of running this one, I think, anyway. Because if you don't think that your opponent on 4 can kill your Murmuring Mystic, then you should be playing it on 4. Otherwise, depending on what's in your hand, you have to play it a little later. And obviously, holding counters for what they might have rather than what they do have is also something you have to bear in mind. But it is a ton of fun, and a really, really rewarding deck when it actually goes off and wins as well. So I hope you've enjoyed. If you have enjoyed and you want to see more budget videos in the future, it would help me out a great deal if you would like, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon as well for more magic on a budget. It is a fun thing for me to do. It doesn't come by very often because, you know, a good budget deck is hard to find, but when you find these little gems, I do enjoy bringing these guys to you as well. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.